I am Eon. It is Sunday, January 11th, 2026, as I record. Welcome to Happy New Year. And let's get started. We're going to go into fantasy. Let's look at Aether Studios. A little bit different direction this year. They seem to be focusing in 6 different areas. We'll look at the ones that matter for fantasy, of course, with caves. These glowing grotto caves, as well as some lava and flowing water cave as well. They've been working on quite a lot of caves, actually. They have 4 or 5 cave sets, I think, worked up for this month. One set of free water caves to get the newcomers started, a maxed out set of large flowing water caverns for adventure, and a separate set of waterfalls that's still getting work done, is not quite yet rendered. So they are working quite a bit on this massive set that is very unique. I would imagine there's probably an aboleth or something down there lurking somewhere in the deeps. These come in lots of different sizes, nice big sizes too, 4x6, etc., 6x6 here. These are getting bigger and bigger to fill up your printer. For Dwarven is an arena that they worked on last year. It prints in only 10 prints, largest sections being 6x6 inches, features sliding gate channels with easy lift tabs to lock your players into the adventure. Also, yes, the braziers also come separate for printing and plopping anywhere. Catacombs are another category that they're looking at, and this seems to be a bunch of books for the most part. 2 sets under production here, full rebuild, and they are yet to see a majority of the development allocation. More to show in the coming weeks. There's Prince Vanya Sanctamorte, like death, I believe, and Tomb of the Banshee Queen, excuse me. I always get those 2 words mixed up in their pronunciation. Peaceful. We have 2 peaceful sets already being worked up for this month, both follow-ups on work from last month, and they showed 1-inch thicket cliffs. This is going to be 2-inch thicket cliffs. And a 2-inch hole. Aradia Miniatures, there's more from Aether, but we'll put them in other videos. Aradia Miniatures has put out this preview here. There's Anayael, Mushroll, which is the troll over on the right, and Mjornor the Alchemist. I'm supposing that's the one in the middle. They've shown a few renders here of Mushroll, including these extra renders as well. Really cool looking siege troll with a goblin on his back, as well as some test prints. Looking pretty good. Arbiter Miniatures has been doing hags and witches. Here's the advanced FDM prints, or models, with a couple of cauldrons. The resin pre-supported files, as well as the support-less. Gets the bonus cat miniature there. Archvillain Games is doing Tome of Demons this month, Volume 5. Here's Pazuzu, Demon Lord of Eramnos. Here's Avaraxa, Herald of Pazuzu, and Lazarel, Apostle of Pazuzu. Storm Chaser of Pazuzu, and there's Major Akor, Blade of the Eerie, for the heroes of sorts. Here's also Silas Storm, a ruinous loyalist, and Merrick Voss, a pit champion. These are called Bloodbeaks, and yeah, I could definitely see that. That one's mouth is in 3 parts. These are Cultists of Pazuzu. Discarded Spawn of Pazuzu. This is a Mauling. Kind of hard to tell with the mask there. Artisan Guild this month is doing Villagers and Townsfolk Volume 1. Really looking forward to this. I always like Townfolk model releases. For their Guild Hall exclusive, if you subscribe on their website, you have the Pillory, as well as a Punished Peasant that you can put in there as well. For the Townsfolk Peasants, we have all of these guys here with various jobs and tools all about their day. And a few more guys as well. Looks like some town guardsmen. There's as well some townsfolk women of various ages and various activities that they're going about, and some more townsfolk women. As well as some characters such as Torben the Blacksmith, Ulrich the Quartermaster, Maribel the Tavern Dancer, or Tavern Dancer, and Morgante Hill Giant, comes with hair or without. I'm curious if he's a BFG, a big friendly giant, or if he is a opposition for the villagers. There's also a villager water well for a little bit of scatter terrain, as well as some various weapons and accessories that you put with the villagers as well. For those that back at the extra level, there are busts to be had of several of the different characters, including one throwback bust of Gino Brewmaster from the Set 11 Dwarven Oathbreakers set. Asgard Rising, I would be a bit concerned with this one. These are not new releases, these are their older releases being re-released, but these are Viking shield maidens. I do know in the past they had some issues with some of their stuff not being released. Hopefully, if they're just doing re-releases, then that's not an issue anymore. But just to be aware, a viewer pointed that out, and I feel like it is actually important to note. Still, very nice looking Viking models. They also have Swatuid the World Seeker, comes with a couple of different head options, as well as a really elaborate base for him, and then there he is as the Sleeping Giant. There's also some really nice Viking villages as well that you can put together, these various houses. Reminds me of my days playing Valheim. Avatars of War has put out their release for January, including Beastmen Warriors, Iron Orc Chariot, and Savage Orc Boar Riders. These are the Beastmen Warriors with 2 weapons. There's a better look at each individual model instead of seeing them all in the rank and file. Here's the Iron Orc Chariot kit. A lot of metal on these guys. And the Savage Orc Boar Rider Spearman. Reminds me of old school Warhammer. Probably shouldn't say that with the way GW can be. BattleYak Miniatures has this as their free model for January. And here is the Kingdom of Broodhollow Broodsworn Tribes. Everything you get at a glance. These are the Grubberdrudge Maggots. And a few other variants of those. I guess these come with helmets of sorts. And they also come with a couple of different weapon options, and you can see all the different head options for those. Wavenholm Artificers. As you see there. The Zancepede Riders. Imagine how they stay on. Zancepede Riders, just the mounts. And various ways you can put those together. This is a Lumamoth Dreamseer. And how she goes together. Radiant Dreamseer. It's a very immaculate model. Comes in a couple of different options. As well as some bases. These are razor worm nests. The Beholder Miniatures has put out some elves, a starry dynasty, and, well, a dragon. These are Spirits of the Forest for the Evergreen Elves. And these are Spirits of the Forest Riders. Those are some pretty big ants, I suppose. These are Glade Avengers Command Group. So your Bannerman, your Musician, and your Champion. For the Astari Dynasty, there's the Imperial Snipers with shield and pretty elaborate gun. Here's the Warlord on Imperial Dragon Horse. Yeah, that looks about right. I don't know what else you would call that. Dragon Horse sounds right. And there's Wu Thang, the Wasteland Dragon. Belxasar 3D Print is doing Beyond the Great Wall. Here's the Empress of the Jade Breeze, Custodians of the Celestial Wall, Heralds of the White Throne with monkey companions, Lancers of the Sacred Mist, Sentinel of the Golden Echo. Okay, so these are a little bit different than their norm. These are bear folk. Here's Sentinels of the Incendiary Breath. And a Great Dragon Banner. Bestiarum Miniatures is doing Church of the Cacarid this month. Acarid, excuse me. Arcadian Prophet. These are Arcadians. An Infested Templar. Infested Monks. Infested Questers. These feel like these should all be characters in a video game, don't they? Here's the Statue of the Sainted Mother, head or headless option, and Infested Chapel Ornaments. Are they infested with garlic? I don't think it's garlic, is it? It just kind of looks like that. Bite the Bullet Studios is doing an homage to Baldur's Gate. This is Bullet's Gate. Here's the throwback pack for January. So some classic D&D style monsters. You have a Tiefling Oathbreaker Paladin and a Human Ranger Berserk plus Hamster. A Masked Warrior and a Human Deathbringer Fighter who also has a mask. This is a Holy Font. Comes in a couple of different options. The monocle and the pipe kind of really fit him, don't they? It is a Human Harper Wizard and a Human Mage Invoker. Githyanki Fighter and Half-Elf Cleric. Cambion Devil, either with wings or without. And in a more adult version, here's an Aasimar Paladin, a Spectator Aberration, and for the exotic model, we have Meloria, the Cambion Sorceress. Blackcrest Miniatures has Yukara the Nymph and Alice the Wondrous. This is Cragily, Kragodo, and Kragadon. So I was wondering if these were early sculpts before, but no, they're actually like rock T-Rex critters here. So pretty cool. I like them. Caleb Makes Minis is doing Pirates this month, the Captain's Ship. Comes in several different options, some of these models. Along with a really cool little ship. It says, "Yo ho ho, we shall sail the sea, way hey hey, and heaven will be." Carnevale is doing Extreme Magi Reshar. Rise from the canals with the Extreme Magi Reshar and be recognized as a true follower of Dagon. This is the Church of Dagon. Most outwardly benevolent group in the whole of Venice. The Church of Dagon harbors a deep secret. Once inducted, there's no going back. Here's a Harlequin. Gifted fellow loves nothing more than causing headaches on your tabletop. Just sit back and laugh as your opponent attempts to tie him down. There are some cannons. And they did show some stats for these cannons as well. And they also put out some terrain with the Casa Maria Grazia. Particularly glamorous home once owned by the Duke himself. And some cobblestone step tiles. I like the slow growth way they're doing this. Cast in Play is doing the Icebound. We have some penguins and some walrus hunters. Not people hunting walrus, but walrus that hunt. Polar bear warriors and ferret lookouts. I was thinking it would be more like maybe an otter, but it's a ferret. Here's a platypus tidebinder, an ice elk, a hall mammoth, and Arctic fox companions. And of course, a frost yeti. Claudio Casini Art in January has this big release here. These are female warrior multi-races with spear. So elves and tieflings and half-orcs and human. A boarfolk rogue assassin. A Nubian dogfolk bard. Female dragonoid ranger. This is the Nussnacker und Muskongig. I can't say all that, but basically it's the Nutcracker and the Mouse King? Guard? Queen, I guess. But pretty cool. I like the play on the theme. Clay Beast Creation has these models out this month. We're kind of going a little bit different, not demons this month. These are melee cultists of the web. So I think these are kind of like drow, dark elf inspired characters here. Again, some different angle of melee cultists of the web. Ranged cultists of the web. These are the Venom Lord's squad, I believe. And a Vile Drake. Claymore Miniatures has the Dynasty's Ghost and the Red Needle. Lagathar of the Veil, which has the oddest body. I can't figure out if they... Yeah, I can't figure out where one starts and the other begins. Evelyn Moonwing, the Moth Dragon. Moth seems to be a pretty popular theme this month. Here's a Bull Beetle, an Amethyst Spider. Here's an Umber Hulk. A little bit different take on that character, but on that model, but I like it. Lysandra Mothfolk Queen. So again, another moth character. Here's Lirin the Explorer. So mushroom person maybe? No, more insect, I think. That looks more like chitin. And a man-eating ladybug. That would be terrifying. Here's Meanlock and Mothfolk Soldier. And finally, a Mothfolk Spellcaster. CobraMode is going kind of with frog sort of people this month. We have Kusato, an Amagaru swordsman. Isamu, an Amagaru brawler. Prefers to fight with his fists. Here's Teshua and Wakaba Amagaru Warrior. Tetsuhua, known as the Iron Lady, wields an iron-studded mace to devastating effect. Wakaba's been carefully observing her mother's techniques from atop her back. Tobomaru and Hajiki Amagaru Ninja. Isn't ninja just plural, singular? Yeah. Childhood friends, they've been doing both been doing this since they were both froglets and have excellent timing and coordination with one another. And then here's Ganmaru Numaki Priests. Reminds me of Boss Nass from episode 1. The warrior priest is a high-ranking member of the Numaki, the toad folk of the Uragorokuro Baro realm. Okay. They have bases, as is typical for CobraMode, either circular or square, whichever you would prefer, with a lot of character in these bases. They also have a little bit of scatter terrain as well, with this tree on a rock and little temple shrine. Crippled God Foundry is doing Fangs over Skyspire Ridge. We have some wyverns and some baby wyverns. That right there's an adventure that writes itself. Here's Featherwind Talonstrike, an Aarakocra Kokra Monster Hunter Ranger, and some Peritons. Some rocks. Of course, these would be much bigger than what they look like on this picture here. There's a Cyclops, a couple of stone giants, and a two-headed wyvern. There's some Fangs over Skyspire Ridge. Lots of different terrain that can be put together to make the area where you're jumping up to get to the, I guess, the wyvern's nests and those types of things. Oh, the rock nest in that case, actually. Custom Miniature Maker is doing some, well, shipwrecks and those types of things. So here's a bit of shipwrecked Kraken style, along with their classic rollers that they do every month. Here is Wrecked Deck, Kraken on Deck, Wrath of the Kraken, Kraken Poneglyph. It's like somebody somewhere warned you of the Kraken. There's Dry Stone Wall. For their terrain, they have some floating debris. Nothing left to keep you afloat. 3-piece is perfect for breaking up. Actually, that might be this set here. No, those are just rocks. Barnacled coastal rocks. There's the floating debris. They also just today put out Stormy Waters as another roller that was requested. So I guess after the Kraken is finally taking down your ship, you just put this out. I love the progression. You have a boat attacked by the Kraken, you have a boat, well, the remnants of a boat, and then you have, well, just rough waters. Dark Realms has Odengard this month with some house ruins. Viking-inspired ruined houses. Davale Games seems to be a little bit slow in putting stuff out this month, which is fine. They always do such an amazing job. Here we have these orcs that they previewed earlier before the month even started. We'll be, of course, keeping our eye on them throughout the month. Daybreak Miniatures, just to let you know, there's no release from Daybreak this month. They've decided to pause Daybreak for the month of January. Wasn't an easy decision, but there was no way to pause individual tiers, and they're just paused for the month, but they should hopefully be back. A couple of patrons are doing this. Patreon's creators are doing that this month, and I can't blame them. It's a good time if you're going to take it off the month after Christmas. Dice Heads is doing Whispers over Duskvale, Part 3 of the Shards of Shadowlight Saga. Here are your heroes. Here's Valcor Nightwing, Bat Eldritch Knight, and Tinker Thistlewick, Mouse Artificer. There's Bjorn Frostvein, the Polar Bear Sorcerer, and I think he's the miniature for the $1 tier. Rykard Blackpelt, Wolf Rogue. Laria Stormpaw, the Thunder Rabbit of Emerald Meadow. I think I've said it before in my previous video of fantasy, the preview, but I really like her title. That is a beautiful title. Corvus Blackfeather, leader of the Raven's Roost. 2 Raven Rangers. 2 Raven Fighters. A Fungal Stalk Warden, and 4 Sprawling Skittercaps. Puffcap Popper and a Fungal Guardian. And the Spore Queen. It's like the Borg Queen meets mushrooms. Dino and Dog has a few dragons that they do every now and then. And that here is, he's seen with the Ice Dragon. This is a Glacierback Dragon. And a Mountainside Dragon. They are also considering doing a model with the Triceratops, and there are several fantasy worlds that use dinosaurs as the monsters there too. So this might be useful for anybody that has such a world. DM Stash is doing the Great Crusade this month. We have Actum of the Meadow, and an Arc Paladin Tyrius III, Delina Row Unveil, and Hatalia, Jean de Lac, and on mount and on foot, Jeremus of Jokina and Krunthar, Lionel Donmare, and there's the ruins, the terrain that comes this month. Raiden the Everlasting comes as both a bust and a miniature. Sarah Rosewood, like the effect around her, and Selrina. They always have one miniature at least with colored resin. Look, I like that. Sir Ludwig and Shingorian, Ancient Undead Dragon. Oh, that can't be good. There's the Fallen, some Lost Crusaders, and Uktakon. And finally, Vilnace the Ashen, a Forsaken Paladin. Dragon Trapper's Lodge has the Mists of Okinja and Call to Arms. Mists of Okinja has the Yokai King, Chikri, raised by rats, Darkan, veteran fighter, Kappa Water Witch, Miyako Charm Crafter, Chikri, raised by rats. I don't know why that's repeated, sorry. Sayaka Earthshaper, Sinlong the Tender, some Forest Guardians, Sumo Puppet, and Spirit Puppet, Kappa Brute, and Kappa Slingers. So a lot of turtle theme here. For the Call to Arms, this was a different take than what I would have thought. They have the Burning God here, which looks to be some sort of orangutan. And then we have the Ooze Queen. I think I said King before, but well, it does say Spawn of the Ooze King, doesn't it? There's Thalia, the Shadow, Champions of the Critter Folk. Mice Rogues. Here's Rage Lords from the Moon Enclave. Dragonkin Warriors from Chosen of the Kami. The Moon Enclave has Bristleback Command Groups, Spear Variants, Axe Variants, and Bristlebacks with Axe Variants and Spear Variants as well. Dragon's Lake Miniatures is going away from demons and headed into ogres. Here we have some Carrion Chewers. The Command Group for the Carrion Chewer. Thunderburps, probably a good name for artillery. Thunderburps Command Group. Here's a Rock Chewer. Stormtooth. Warjaw, and Warjaw on Rockshore, and Warjaw on Stormtooth, if you prefer. Duncan Shadow has shown us a Boggart and some ghosts. So it's like some classic, I don't know, European, what's the word? Supernatural. Kit bashing kit pieces. I wonder if I should put those in the terrain video. They could easily go with any of that stuff. And then I had to look up, this is a Vossen. So basically like a critter from folklore, pretty much. I knew it was a whole RPG based around that title, but I had to look up how to say that, and I think that's more or less how you say it. Dog folk, they come with several different heads for whether you want your boys to be good boys or angry boys. And these dog folk also come pre-posed as well. For the 15mm line, they have some rat folk. And these always fit that thin line of, is it fantasy, is it sci-fi? I think it's more fantasy usually. But their technology usually seems to hinge on that steampunk line. Dungeon Classics has shown us this preview image here. It seems like they're cutting back on their releases, and that's fine. Young Black Dragon. I think I was right. I think I guessed it was a Black Dragon. There's an Arcanoloth. I'm not familiar with that critter. These are shadow demons, and those are quasits. Not whatsits, quasits. Dungeon Dog has only given us this image, really, of the January release. Usually we have individual images, I believe, and so I don't really have those to show. I do have this one. And there's a picture of one of the busts. Dungeon Dog props. I have to give props to them, pun intended. This month is about dwarves. And if you know me, you know I love dwarves, and I'm going to have to print all that stuff off. We'll look at it in more detail in the models video. Next up is Echo Art Studios. For January, they'll be doing Jade Moon Shadows. Here are a few of the images I was able to cultivate or gather or collate to show you what they're doing. So kind of like a Oriental Oni samurai sort of theme here. Really cool picture pieces here. I'm almost tempted to put these over in the historical video because they do kind of fit that theme, even though they do go into the fantasy realm as well. Eldritch Foundry has put out this release here. It has Spartans. It's the full Bronze Age roster. Prophet Cassandra foresaw horned terrors out of the Labyrinth, Serpent Swift, Gorgon warriors, and a disciplined shield wall built to take ground and hold it. So some pretty cool models here, especially if you like, well, Greek mythology. Epic Miniatures. All right, y'all. Buckle up. Here we go. Update number 1 is Construct Laboratory. Here's some laboratory scatter and laboratory walls and tiles. Tesla Carriage and Drill House. Mad Scorpion Professor. If you wonder, he was already mad before attaching it to a flame-throwing tail to himself. This is a Steam Tyrant, an eye tyrant that was born from a dream about steam and gears, or so they want you to believe, but don't look inside the machine. This is a construct golem, constructed to build to serve. He lost his old masters, looking for a new one. You have to prove yourself worthy first, though. Clockwork Tinkerer is a construct that builds and repairs other constructs. At this point, why would they need humans? Blue Warlock has a contract with a mechanical friend. It grants him the power to summon mechanical snakes to fight for him. Ogre Gunslinger, really nice model here. He likes the sound of things exploding. That's why he makes things explode, especially those mechanical things. Gear Town Residents are a bunch of NPCs that you can use to fill up your steampunk setting, whatever you might need. These come in several different varieties. I'm not sure what you would call that one on the left there, but You know, they come with different outfits and different devices, all sorts of stuff. Here's an inventor dwarf. He's invented a ton of things, some good, some bad, some weird. And some dwarven cannons. Everybody knows dwarves make the best cannons. Some dwarven machinery to make mining easier, and a dwarven helicopter. It crashes only about 10% of the time. Much better than the competition. Aviator girl. Scouting the sky is not an easy task, but it needs to be done. She can fly surprisingly fast. Here's an inevitable Marut, a construct to enforce the inevitability of death. Its body is made of onyx. Here's an inevitable Colorroot. Have humanoid bodies punish those who break a contract, especially those contract breaches that was on purpose and showed signs of significant betrayal. This is an inevitable Zellicut. Inevitables look like mechanical centaurs. They hunt those that escaped justice. Here's a Clockwork Dragon, clockwork beast made to destroy. It outlived its creator, and now it causes chaos without someone there to control it. Mechanus Guard. These constructs are the main bodyguards of Primus. They will fight to defend their world and their master. Who is Primus, you ask? There's Primus, War Avatar. When Mechanus is in war, Primus himself takes the lead. Update number 2 is Forest Folk. This is a forest lung dragon. An elderly lung dragon protects his forest since millennia. Its wisdom is unmatched. This is a green dragon spawn zealot, fanatic and loyal worshipper of Tiamat. Very sadistic. Here's an elf druid adventurer. Elf adventurer, expert in nature magic. Here's a Draxi Dragon Pixie, rare half-dragon fae. Its dragon part shows when it gets angry. Here's a baby Minotaur. Don't underestimate him just because he's young. His strength still surpasses that of a strong human. Here's a fairy Pegasus. Pegasus that comes to our world through a portal from the Fey realm. It's very proud, demands respect. Woodmask Assassin is a forest elf that hides their face when they do something unworthy. When wearing a mask, their personalities and even their voices change, like they become a different person. Seems to be inspired by something, doesn't it? Tree Guard is a sentinel of the forest. They get summoned by the Lung Dragon when the forest is in danger. They're nearly unstoppable, regularly regenerating the damage that they took. Troll Shaman. Don't be mistaken, nature magic has its dark sides, and shamans are specialized in harvesting the dark nature of this magic. Trickster Fae, and that's how it's spelled, a fairy that's never serious about anything. If everything is a joke, you never have to stop laughing. Had a former student that always said you can't spell slaughter without laughter. Little Forest Defender, a young elf that lives on his own in the forest. The other elves in the forest don't accept him for some mysterious reason. We added versions both with and without the mask. And there he is without the mask. Again, seems to be inspired by Ocarina of Time, I would say, but I don't know. Here's a giant shaman. I, for some reason, didn't put the title there. He's a giant that lives with satyrs and carves magic runes. There it is. Satyr half-giants, the abominable son of the giant shaman. Too big to fight into the satyr population, too different for giants. To accept him, he lives a miserable existence. Cruel result of his father's experimentation. Here's a spring undine, powerful war elemental that lives in the clear spring waters. And a nature high spirit avatar of the forest. She gets summoned by the forest folk when they need her powerful protection. Treant World Protector, one of the oldest treants and the world protector of plant life. Many aspiring druids wish to meet it someday. Quite an interesting set of releases there from Epic. Flesh of Gods Miniatures has the Shattered Sigil. Here we have the Amalgamation and Cosmic Eye Tyrant, Shattered Eton and Corrupted Minotaur, Fake Androsphinx and Displacer Beast, Fractured Golem, a couple of different versions of that. Arcscribe Velerin and Drazen, the 13th Prophet. These are 13 cultists and amalgamites. Malor Rift Count and Giovan Ink Binder. It's got a brush. That's interesting. Here's Rena, an ink binder as well. A couple of them. Here's Sir Rowan, Sigil Scarred Knight. Valrin, Echo Rogue, and Oracle of the Shattered Mind. Fleshcraft Studio is doing the Tally Division this month. The law was written in silence. The sentence will be carried out in kind. So this seems to be a slightly different direction for them, but I don't know. New season, Order of the Black Verdict. Kind of like these guys. Look like some generic sorts of troops. Gamescape 3D is doing barges and ironworks. You can see these barges come together in multiple sizes, however big or small you want to put them. Of course, you can recommend that you put them together with magnets, and really cool models, actually. Ghamak is put out their preview list here. I haven't seen anything actually released just yet. Looks like in January we'll be looking with the Nezumi clan and Werkala. Then we'll be taking a break in March from the Nezumi before we come back to them and finish it up with Werkala at the time. So about 2 factions a month. Goetia Miniatures is doing the Northern Darkness. Here's Steward of the Old Tradition and the Gatebearer. Zelgrak, King of the Northmen and the Vessel of the Truth. These are Zelgrakian Sworn Swords. Some really nice skeleton warriors, actually. Pretty sure I fought some of those in Minecraft before. Goonmaster Games is doing mice this month, medieval mice. And for the throwback, you get the Giraffe Guardians. So just looking at some of these models that they gave us early renders of, they come in both hooded and unhooded varieties. I'm not going to show all of those because this video is already running a bit long, and we're not even maybe halfway done. Here are the bases. They seem to be kind of swampy of sorts. I didn't see anything listed about this platypus-looking fella here, but they always have some basing bits, and it seems to be some thorns, some various smoke, I suppose that is, and some hogs. Rather big hogs. And of course, a couple of accessories. Great Grimoire Games has Wrath Awakened. So you get about 4 or 5 models, perhaps, and a couple of really nice busts. Seems to be like Dragonborn and Tieflings. Seem to be the theme this month. Haito is doing Arthurian Legends 2. Here's the Black Knight, Lady Dendrain, Lady Isolde, and Malagant. Here's Merlin, a couple of different options, either hat or unhatted. Morgan Le Fay and Sandy. I don't remember a Sandy from the Arthurian Legends, personally. There's Sir Aglavale. Don't recall his name either. There's Sir Galahad and Sir Gareth. Pair these up with the Primal Collectibles, and you've got some pretty nice Arthurian models. Heroes Infinite, I believe this is a fantasy release. We have Lust Elves, Sublime Rapture. Here's Varicia, Empress of the Exquisite Torments. An Immortal Sovereign Aurexes. Serith, Decadence Symphonist. And with legs. Neralithra, Glorious Executor. And without mask. Of course, there are a couple of different tiers of how they do these. Here's Lorana, Mistress of Langor. Cyril, the Dancing Hunter. Nethera, Chrysalith Transmuters. Zenthera of the Devourers. Miras, a Slasher Acrobat. Thoralaxia, Weaver of Ecstasia. Vexillarius, Soulkisser. Death Dancer Apprentice. Heart Piercer's Apprentice. There's the centerpiece model. And then, depending on if you join the higher tier, you get Death Dancer Apprentices, additional Death Dancer Apprentice as well. You get Vexillarius Soul Kissers, again, alternate sculpts. Heart Piercer's Apprentices. Phalian Impalers. Ocelith Gallopers. Throne of Ultimate Ravishment. There's a lot going on in that picture. As well as some modular scenery parts to fill out with your centerpiece as well. Always a huge release by Heroes Infinite. Highlands Miniatures is continuing with their Sons of Marduk. They're Chaos Dwarves, basically. I believe this is Kosariku Great Marduk Minotaur. These are Marduk Minotaurs. They come in several different weapon options, like two weapons, two axes, or a two-handed axe. This has got to be the Marduk Bull. Sorcerer. And these have to be the cultists, including Captain, Musician, and Bannerman, aka a command group. Imp3 Desion has shown us this release here. It includes 3 Revenge Nightmares, 3 Shadow Sins, 3 Magicians, 3 Doppelgangers, and 8 Human Heads. I believe this is one of the Revenge Nightmares. Kyoushuneko Miniatures has shown us their fantasy release this month. This, or at least the first part of it. These are Ordo Luminous Crossbow Maidens. La Louve 3D is one of those creators that's kind of pausing for the month. No new release in January, so if you subscribed in December and you subscribed again, and obviously you don't want to get the same release twice, they just reach out and let them know, and you can either get a previous release that you did not get, or up to about 6 miniatures from the store to offset you for the pause of the month. But I think it was an issue due to a loss of internet that caused that decision. Labyrinth Models has modular hoplites. Showing you all the different modular pieces there. Polmarchos, which is apparently a general from the ancient Greek. I've never heard of him personally. Siloi, I'm not familiar with this word, but these are apparently various types of slingers and ranged people. Siloi. I never took Greek. I didn't want to have to learn a whole new alphabet. I took Latin instead. For the Olympian warriors, we have Polmarchos, 10 modular hoplites, and 6 modular Siloi. I'm going to stick these over in the historical video too, because they kind of fit there too, I would think. Last Sword Miniatures is doing Blood and Sand for the Adventurer, and the Bannerman is Proud of the Lion. Let's look at the Adventurer, Blood and Sand. We have Gallus 1 and Gallus 2 Gladiator, Thrax 2 and Hoplomachos Gladiator. Sorry, eyes went cross there for a second. Provocator 2 and Secator Gladiator, Cripplarius Gladiator and Endabati Gladiator. I know some of you might be like, wait a second, 2, where's 1? I think this is the second time they've done gladiators like this at least. So, Laquarius Gladiator and Samnite 2, Venator and Sagittarius, as well as some enthusiastic spectators to put in your arena. And apparently, as a special gift to celebrate the new year, it says next month we will gift the Coliseum again so everyone has a proper stage for the gladiators. So I don't know if that's for January or February. I should have wrote that down when they posted that. For the bannerman proud of the lion, we have Valon Ithriel on horse. It's quite the elaborate helmet. Tor Rufane Lion Guard, Tor Rufane Woodsman, and Tor Rufane Wild Lions. A Sea Dragon and Elven Supply Wagon, as well as a lion statue. So I think these are elves of sorts. But Loot Studios is doing Kobold Caves. Here's a look at everything you get in January. Here we have Devon, Daring Hunter. Oh, that's two different cool versions of his bow. I hadn't really looked at that. Kaya Swift Step, Devon the Daring Hunter. I think they mislabeled somebody. Azure the Sapphire Dragon Wormling. For the enemies, you have Kobold Resurrector, Spooky Skellebold, Kobold Ambusher, Kobold Archer, Kobold Slinger, Lancer, Axe Thrower, Screechers, and then you have Mokdu, a Hero Slayer, Blue Wrath, and Green Plaguer. For the environment, you have Kobold Layers, Kobold Layer Beds, Bone Fences, Kobold Layer Walls, Layer Shelves, Skull Cauldrons, and Arcane Dreamcatcher. For the busts, there's Mokdu Hero Slayer, Kobold Resurrector, and Kaya Swiftstep, and Devon Daring Hunter with or without shield. For their props, they have Kobold Key Holders. So pretty neat ways to print those off and put them on your wall and decorate your gaming room. Lost Kingdom Miniatures is doing Rotten Hosts Volume 3. Here's Frida, Oozing Eye, on the Gooey Dragon. Oloke, Putrid Chosen Hero, and the Putrid Chosen Command Group. Putrid Chosen, a Rotten Chariot, and a Rotten Shrine. Low-Level Encounter is doing Enkegs this month, War in the Wormways. So we have Enkeg Eggs, small little encounter booklet with some stats. There's some Enkegs, some larva and a nymph, a giant badger, and some tunnel giant mites. Mammoth Factory has the Whirring Island, so we're kind of going into Forgeborn. This makes me want to put it in sci-fi, but Forgeborn are typically fantasy. Forgeborn Devastator, humongous model there. Forgeborn Paragon and Forgeborn Errant. Forgeborn Templars. Forgeborn Juggernaut. Hand of Logos. Forgeborn Neutralizer. Forgeborn Unearthed. And finally, a couple of busts, Unearthed Forgeborn Bust and a Forgeborn Templar Bust. Mammoth Factory also gives you usually an item from their Mammoth props, which in this case is the Soap Bubble Pipe. Mantic Vault is pretty much an entirely fantasy release this month. Here's a look at everything you get. Specifically, the big draw this month is the Terrain Crate Campsite. These are Hailthorn salamanders, but they actually spell it differently on their actual website as Heelthorn, so I'm not sure which way it is. These are Kings of War Hero Base adapters. Mage Priest on Kaisenor. Salamander Champions base for Gekoth. for the Hillthorn Salamanders. I spelled it the way they put it on their website. And Casanor Lancers. And finally, the Salamander Champions Fire Token. Mini Monster Mayhem has given us this preview. They haven't really released all the pictures of everything yet, which is fine. I need content for a future video. But here's a listing of everything you'll be getting this month of January. MOM Miniatures has Infernal Dwarves for January. Here are some Halberdiers and some Arquebusiers. Never really sure how to pronounce that, sorry. Weapon and Shield, and some Hobgoblin Archers. Hobgoblins with Axe and Shield, and those are Lancers. I believe those are the Dwarves again. Mortar Gun, and an Infernal Sorcerer. Infernal Lord and Lord of the Forge. Monstrous Encounter has only given us a preview of what's to come. These are the Dark Crusader, Lord, and Hero heads. There's 4 different gods represented here, and hopefully we'll see more from Monstrous Encounter before the month ends. Muja's Forge is going into Realm Builder Village Set 1 with these teaser images here. A little busy working behind the scenes. The main 3 models from the set. We adding a few more to the set. Wanted to get some ideas from you. So what looks to be some really nice fantasy buildings here. There's a lot of people that put these things out, and every time you see one, it's like, do I really need another one? Sometimes the answer is yes. NPC Forge is another creator that is pausing for the month, so I just wanted to include it so you know that I was not skipping NPC Forge. They are working on some bigger projects that they're really excited about, so they will pause for the month of January at least, and I wonder if it's going to be longer than that, but we'll see. NS Miniatures usually does kind of Lovecraftian things, but these were voted on by their fans, I believe. This is Atlak Naka and the Yithians. So I included them here because this is more fantasy than it is modern historical. The Great Plague Demon and Byakhes. Byakhes? Wow, a lot going on there. One Page Rules is really being pretty prolific this month with fantasy. They're doing some War Demons and Plague Demons. For Age of Fantasy Quest, there's a War Demons Wizard. And for terrain, there's this jungle or Xenos platform terrain. So I can see this is sci-fi or fantasy. For fantasy, I don't have all of these labeled. This is War Demons, Champion of War, Heroic Champions of War, Heroic Harbinger of War, and Ascendant Harbinger of War. Blood Whippers. Heroic Champions of War, I think. And I'm not exactly sure what these are called, so I just know they're part of the War Demons. How? Because it has a red background. That's how I know. These guys come in lots of weapon options. And some more of the War Demons. Some sort of critter here. Some people riding some critters. Again, different weapon options. And what looks to be the command group for those. They also come with bases and objectives and game aids. Now, they aren't just done. They also did a bunch of Plague Demons this month. There's the Plague Harvester, Fury Champion of Plague. Sling Furies over on the left, and some Giant Slugs. And honestly, I don't think they've quite caught up with their own releases yet. So again, some sort of Giant Slugs of some sort. I'm not exactly sure what these are called, and I'm not sure what that is either, to be honest. These are Plague Soul Spawns. And not sure what that guy is either, but that is a terrifying weapon he seems to have as part of his arm. They also have some bases and game aids and objectives as well. Wow, they've got quite a bit. I am sorry to see the dwarves end, but man, that is a heck of a release. Papal 3D is doing the Mighty Ursa Clan. Here are the male bearlings. The female bearlings. Elder Ursa and Young Ursa. Ursa, of course, is bear. Young Ursa Master. And Elder Ursa Lord. And these are some bearlings with no bow and arrow and some dead bearlings. Oh, that's sad. I'm wondering if these are kind of a play off of, in The Hobbit, there was the one guy who could turn into a bear. If this is a play off of those, or if this is something else entirely. Here we have some sample prints of the Ursa. For their monthly mythic, the Giant Eagle. And for the throwback set, they have a Black Wraith with some wild wargs. Parasite Collectibles has Zalor, the Ashbound Devourer, and Calith, Bearer of the Last Flame. These two can come together as a set or as individual pieces. Primal Collectibles has Chronicles of Excalibur this month. We have Tristan and the Black Knight, Isolde and Sir Ector. That's the guy who was Arthur's ward protector, wasn't he? Ector. Sir Kay? Looks like Cag, but I might be Sir Kay. Sir Palamedes, Forest Spirit, and I can't even read that. Chworth, much less try to pronounce it. Print Your Monsters is sort of doing terrain this month, but not really. It's basically carnivorous plants. Here's a verdant hydra and leaf-tongue tarantula. Another leaf-tongue tarantula. That's a dragon fruit snapper. Dragon fruit crab and dragon fruit sting tusk. 2 whipfang vines. 2 deaththorn bushes. And 2 burrowed leaf-tongue tarantula. That is terrifying if those things are buried underground like that. Printed Legends is doing Hunger Unleashed this month. With, I don't know, are those things inspired by Demogorgons from Stranger Things? They seem to be, don't they? Print and Paint Miniatures in January is doing Arena Pit. There's the throwback rewards, and there's the $1 tier. Get a few gladiators of sorts. A little bit of terrain. And again, their stuff is usually designed to print on FDM printers without support. So, some of them, a lot of them. So that's why their stuff has a very characteristic look to it, because it's designed to print without any issues like that, just going straight up. The Printing Goes Ever On is, I'm not exactly sure what exactly they're doing. This is for Season 1, which is the first 3 months of 2026. They'll be doing the Domani Republic, and I was trying to think, I thought maybe there was a group in the world of Middle-earth that were called the Domani, but I don't think it's that. I think these are inspired by the Wheel of Time. Let me know if you have any strong feelings on these or not. And this is the wargaming tier of these. So these people come in on these boats, Domani Republic galley warships. I think this is sort of like the Sanshin, I don't know how to pronounce it, from Wheel of Time. These are Domani Rangers, Domani Royal Guard, and these are Dreadhound Riders. And I had to go look it up because it's been a while since I've read the books. But the Torm that they ride are intelligent, three-eyed, six-legged predators resembling large cats with bronze scales. Now, these things don't have 6 legs, and I don't think they have 3 eyes that I can tell, but they do kind of have a cat-like look to them. I'm not sure. Domani Republic RPG tier. that we can see here. Captain, Port Guard, Damani Republic Ladies, Fishmongers, Dreadhound Rider, Orc Hunter, Leviathan. So definitely some sort of water-based theme. I don't know if this is an original creation of theirs or if this is something that they are getting from somewhere else. But if you know and I'm just completely missing the mark, please let me know. But I definitely, I don't know, it's a different feel to it. I like it, though. They also put in a couple things for props and beyond, because Printing Goes Ever On is part of like 5 different patrons or creators here, and that's one of their creators. So they have a couple of these included as well. Rescale Miniatures has the Untamed Clan. The Untamed Clan as a shaman. So there he is as an extra large model at 1/6 scale. Huge model. Here's Wings of the Untamed. And more of those. An Elder Black Dragon. I really like the white effect on there. It makes it look like a skull. I wonder if that's supposed to be natural or actually painted on. But I mean, obviously painted by the painter, but you get what I'm saying. Adult Crystal Dragon. An Untamed War Centipede. Okay. RPG Figures in January is doing a Hippocamp. Majestic mythical creature, blending the strength of a horse with the untamed power of the sea. Sculptuner is doing, I think, Conan. I believe this is all inspired more or less by Conan. And I think it was some mention about a Conan board game or something. So here we have the Conqueror and the Crossbowman. Here's Black Dragons and Yak Gausha. So like an elephant sort of people. And here is a Conqueror Queen to fill that set out. Signum Games has Mighty and Mysterious this month. They've crossed half the continent, managed to annoy nearly every divine being, monarch, and city guard along the way. From the highlands to the deserts, mighty and mysterious heroes left a trail of chaos, laughter, and crushed bar tables. So here is the set that they are releasing in January. It's all the images that I have for now. Apologies that it's a little pixelated. Smurf Minis has Witchlight Carnival members. With his Kettle Steam, the Kinku snoops around the carnival under the cover of a disguised self-spell. Stolen the voice of a human mime named Candlefoot. This is Candlefoot the Mime. Reluctant ticket puncher at the Hall of Illusions, he does all he can to avoid entering the hall. All the color is leached out of his skin, hair, eyes, and apparel, giving him a strangely monochromatic look. His problems don't end there. And Burley the Bugbear. The perimeter inside the Wall of Thorns and outside the Circle of Wagons is patrolled by a bugbear named Burley, who leaves his post once during the evening to participate in the Big Top extravaganza. He'll wear a large jack-o'-lantern on his head, as one would wear a helmet, in addition to his dungarees and fake fairy wings. Soul Good Studios has a zombie minotaur in the month of January. Here we see the model, painted or colored and uncolored. Here it is actually printed, along with, of course, the fact that they give you different stats for this model as well. Sordane Publishing is going with Monster Mayhem Part 3 for January. Here's Tatarian Black Knight and some Griffins. An Alpha Manticore. There's 2 of them. Juggernaut Beetle. Okay, so play on the Umber Hulk. Troglodytes and a Void Jaguar. Stormborn Collectibles has shown us the Corrupted Treant, which is their release for the month of January. STL Miniatures is going with a Firefighters set, along with some Panicked Villagers that kind of complete the set. Here we see the panicked villagers freaking out with the fire on their base, as anyone rightfully would. A little bit more panic. And here are the firefighters. He's got a goblin actually being helpful? Something seems wrong about that. You know, having a water wizard as a, or a water bender, maybe, would be an excellent choice for a firefighter. They also come, of course, always with some amazing terrain and scatter sets. Always useful to have a water tower nearby, too. And then for the miniature monsters, like, you know, Rangers of Shadow Deep and Frostgrave, those things, there's a Graka Yura. Terrain Essentials is doing Dark Woods. Here we have some traps. Pretty elaborate traps in the Dark Wood. Some platforms that your models can stand on. And some dead trees. Threat Factory is doing Arcanists this month. There's a little bit of scatter terrain with some shelves and books, along with some museum items and a few characters around. Here's a few of those that have been painted up very nicely, I would say. Tiles from the Crypt in January is fulfilling a triber's request. They wanted broken edge tiles for their Forgotten Forest. Allow for more natural transitions if you're looking to make rivers, paths, or just a smaller build with a natural vignette. Other than tiles, I made a hero piece that's a large gnarled tree stump. I've included a scatter version and a version that's part of a 5x5 forest tile. Titan Forge Miniatures is doing Halfling Auxilia. Here we see this siege weapon. I love the fact that it is powered by pig, and the person is riding the pig like a giant hamster wheel. And of course, on the other side, we have this woman that is, I think it's a woman, it might be a guy, but they're pretty angry looking as they're trying to gear this up. Here we see, well, it's all over, folks, where they say when pigs fly, and it looks like apparently this pig will be flying. The rider seems a bit scary. Here we have the leader with the goose on his head. He's got quite the sword in his back, though, and a club in his hand. Here we have some sort of sniper. And then we have some archers. Love the squirrel on his shoulder. Some slinger shot people. I would call that one on the right probably Dennis. He looks a bit of like a menace, doesn't he? Here we have a command group. And here we have some guys with a sword. Isn't that a flamberger when it looks like that? And here we have some pole arms and some sword and shields. So lots of different options for your rank and file. And just a couple of zoomed in pictures of a couple of these guys. For the Titans of Adventure, you have this rabbit folk character. Comes with several different weapon and arm options. Kind of monk-like or barbarian-like, I'm not sure. Here we have what I think is a human, might be an elf. It's hard to look at see his ear. And he has a few different weapon options as well, whether you want him to be a melee or a wizard or maybe an alchemist. And then here we have, is this a dwarf? I feel like this is a female dwarf. A few different weapon options, crossbow, sword and shield, and warhammer. And here we have this owlbear-like creature, along with some younger ones around as well. They may not be owlbears. Not, I'm sorry. I always try to look this stuff up, but Titan Forge usually doesn't tell you. And they have some bases as well. TPK Lab in January has, of course, their typical tiers. We have a Primal Fighter, a Blind Style Monk, and a Ninja Infiltrator. So 3 models. You also have some scenery, and there's also a couple of busts, but they don't have any individual pictures of the busts. So Triskelion Games is doing Red Mist Adventures, and looks like we have some undead for Ghost Moon Vale, and perhaps a potential sacrifice along with a tree. Tixarli Factory for Fantasy has these undead trees. These would go really well with Terrain Essentials this month. You can put them on the base or not, and then you can put these trees on bases to serve as a big copse, which is very nice because you can also put magnets, as you can tell on the right, so these can be attached and unattached. And this would be great because there's enough space there that your models can go into it for cover and then come out of it for not cover, just to kind of illustrate that. And of course, you can always take the trees up to show that they're in the forest and then put the trees back down when the models have moved out of it. Waywictus Miniatures has Halfling Reinforcement, so pretty good match with Titan Forge this month. Here are the 3 character models that you get. Then you get the Halfling Reinforcements. These are pre-posed or monopose, however you want to call them. And I believe these are the modular pieces, showing all the various ways they can be put together. And for the Waywictus, you have this Oozy Gooey woman. War Games Atlantic is trying out new tiers this year. Death Fields for sci-fi, historical, and classical fantasy. Seems like we have mostly historical right now, with some ninja being previewed. These are works in progress and can change. I believe this is the dwarves have Ram Riders, and this seems to be a Viking of sort, and some Native Americans as well. So definitely a lot more of the historicals that have been previewed so far. Warp Miniatures has Attack of the Mind Monsters. So we have Illithids, Mind Flayers. Lovely. Very nice paint jobs, as always, by Warp Miniatures. White Angel Miniatures in January will have Lizard Men this month. They have a Commander Lizard, comes with a couple of different weapon options for his right arm. There is a Slippery Lizard, which seem to be, I don't know, they look like geckos or chameleons or something to me, perhaps. Then we have Warrior Lizards. And finally, Skycrawler Lizards, and that's how they spelled it, so that's how I'll put it, but it might be Skycrawler. Skycrawler, either one works. White Werewolf Tavern has Swashbucklers of the Seven Seas. We have Captain Aurelius Drake, version 1. Poor fellow has lost his foot and his hand. And here he is, Drake version 2. Okay, there he is. He's a little bit more repaired now. Here's Elissa Stormbreaker, version 1. And then version 2. So a slightly different base, mostly. There's a Kraken. And there's a few more fantastical models, like the Delphinid Raiders, Pirate Deckhands, some Scaled Gunners, Kraken Tentacles, because the Kraken always is going to be in multiple pieces. And for the environment, there's a Ship Cannon, Sunken Ship, and Ship Helm. For busts, we get Elissa Stormbreaker, Pirate Deckhand, Captain Aurelius Drake, and Delphinid Raider. These are the artworks they had shown to preview us, and I forgot to take them out, so we'll just click through them really quick. Wild Mesh has shown previews with Vermalok, Sons of Wrath, and Fantasy base assets. Witch Guild gave us a preview of Scrib Galloway, but we haven't quite seen the model yet. Holding hopes out soon. Witch Song has also shown us a preview of a Medusa that we'll be seeing as well. And then we need to say farewell to Worldforge Studios, which will now be Embernail, and I need to update my slides with that information. Embernail, of course, will be doing dragons, so we'll probably be moving that over to the models video because of the cool dioramas that these two do together here. For their welcome pack for the first month, you get Selenia, the Emberflame Dragon, and I believe that's only for the first month, so definitely worth checking out if you have any interest in that. And folks, there we go. There is our first look, our big look at the fantasy releases in January so far. Obviously, I'll be updating you with other topics and other subjects as quickly as I can. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you there.